When Cassadee Pope walked onto the Voice stage in 2012, nobody could have predicted that this tattooed pop-punk frontwoman would become the show's first ever female winner, then pivot to country music stardom, earn a Grammy nomination, and eventually make a shocking return to her rock roots. What happened after she won would challenge everything the music industry thought it knew about crossing genres, and her journey from rock rebel to country queen and back again is one of the most incredible transformation stories in reality television history. Standing at just 23 years old, Cassadee Pope was already a seasoned performer when she stepped into the spotlight. With her signature multicolored hair, visible tattoos, and undeniable rock edge, she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had toured with Fall Out Boy and fronted the pop-punk band Hey Monday for years. But behind that assured exterior was a struggling artist who had just watched her band go on indefinite hiatus, who was barely scraping by financially in Los Angeles, and who was taking one last shot at making her solo dreams come true. She faced immediate skepticism from critics who labeled her as just another reality show contestant with a manufactured story. But Cassadee was about to prove that raw talent, strategic thinking, and genuine vulnerability could overcome any obstacle. Join us as we tell you what really happened to Cassadee Pope from The Voice. The moment Cassadee walked onto the Voice stage for her blind audition, something electric filled the air. Carson Daly announced her, and she took her position, waiting for the music to begin. She had chosen Natalie Imbruglia's emotional ballad Torn, a song that would allow her to showcase both her powerful belt and delicate falsetto. As the first notes escaped her lips, there was an immediate shift in the room. Her voice carried a raw, emotional quality that seemed to pierce through the speakers and directly into the hearts of everyone listening. Within seconds, Blake Shelton's hand slammed down on his button, his chair spinning around to reveal a country superstar completely captivated by what he was hearing. Then Adam Levine turned, his eyes widening in recognition of her incredible talent. Christina Aguilera followed, unable to resist the magnetic pull of Cassadee's voice. Finally, CeeLo Green completed the four-chair turn, giving Cassadee the ultimate validation that all four coaches wanted her on their team. The audience erupted in thunderous applause, phones held high to capture this extraordinary moment. When Cassadee finished, the coaches immediately began their pitches, each desperately wanting to work with her. Adam Levine and Christina Aguilera engaged in a playful but intense battle for her attention, raising their voices over each other. But it was Blake Shelton's words that cut through the chaos. He looked directly at Cassadee and said with complete conviction that he believed with 200% of his heart that she was a superstar. The simplicity and sincerity of his statement resonated with her instantly. She revealed later that choosing Blake felt like fate, especially since her middle name was actually Blake. When she announced her decision to join Team Blake, Shelton leaped from his chair in celebration, pumping his fists while Adam and Christina sat back in visible disappointment, knowing they had lost someone truly special. What many viewers didn't know was that at the very moment Cassadee was experiencing this incredible four-chair turn triumph, she was secretly struggling in ways she couldn't reveal to anyone. She had confided years later that she was practically broke, sleeping on couches in Los Angeles, and had just finished an acoustic tour where some nights only 5 people showed up. The audition process itself had been jarring. She was isolated in a hotel room with no phone, no computer, and no connection to the outside world for days before performing. And she couldn't tell a soul that she had just achieved this monumental accomplishment. She carried this secret like a lifeline, while outwardly appearing to be failing at her music career. But the celebration of her blind audition was just the beginning. Cassadee advanced through the battle rounds, defeating Ryan Jarovic, and then conquered the knockout rounds by beating Susanna Chaffel. Yet as she progressed through the competition, she faced a growing challenge. Despite her undeniable vocal ability, she wasn't quite standing out the way she needed to. Her pop-rock performances were solid, but in a competition filled with diverse voices and styles, solid wasn't enough to win. The accusations started almost immediately. Critics online began questioning whether the competition was rigged, pointing to Cassadee's professional background with Hey Monday and her Columbia Records deal as evidence that she didn't deserve to be there. Social media exploded with comments calling her a plant, suggesting the show was fixed, claiming she had an unfair advantage over contestants who had never signed a record deal. The narrative became toxic. Some viewers argued that someone who had already toured with major artists like Fall Out Boy didn't need the voice and was taking an opportunity away from truly unknown singers. Behind the scenes, Cassadee wrestled with these criticisms. She knew her story, knew that despite her previous success, her band had disbanded, her solo career had stalled, and she was genuinely struggling to make ends meet. She had as much right to be there as anyone else, but the court of public opinion didn't care about nuance. She could have let these attacks derail her confidence, could have second-guessed every song choice, could have allowed the pressure to crush her spirit, but instead, she made a bold strategic decision that would change everything. Working closely with Blake Shelton, Cassadee decided to pivot toward country music. It wasn't a complete departure from her roots. She had grown up singing country songs by Martina McBride, Trisha Yearwood, and Shania Twain, learning her tone and vocal sensibilities from these powerhouse women. But it was still a risk. Would her existing fans feel betrayed? Would country audiences accept a tattooed former punk rocker into their fold? Blake believed in her completely, and Cassadee trusted his instincts. It was during the live rounds that Cassadee Pope truly silenced every single critic who had ever doubted her place on that stage. The song that would become her defining moment was Over You, a heartbreaking country ballad co-written by Blake Shelton and his then-wife Miranda Lambert. The song held profound personal meaning for Blake. It was written about the devastating loss of his older brother Richie, who had died in a car accident at just 24 years old. Choosing this song was both an honor and an enormous responsibility. Cassadee knew she had to deliver a performance worthy of such a deeply personal story. When the lights dimmed and Cassadee began to sing, something transcendent happened. Her voice cracked with genuine emotion on the opening lines, immediately drawing the audience into the pain and vulnerability of the lyrics. As she moved through the verses, her vocal control was extraordinary, navigating the delicate balance between restraint and power. The cameras captured audience members with tears streaming down their faces, phones held up to record what they instinctively knew was a historic television moment. Blake Shelton sat in his coach's chair with visible emotion etched across his face, his eyes glistening as he watched his artist pour her heart into his most personal song. Adam Levine leaned forward, completely absorbed in the performance. Christina Aguilera's hand covered her mouth, overcome by the beauty and emotion. CeeLo Green nodded slowly, recognizing that they were witnessing something extraordinary. When Cassadee hit the final powerful notes, the entire studio erupted. All four coaches leaped to their feet in a standing ovation. The audience roared with applause that seemed to shake the very foundations of the building. But the most remarkable thing happened in the hours and days following the broadcast. Over You shot to #1 on the iTunes chart, knocking C's global phenomenon Gangnam Style out of the top spot. This was the first time in The Voice history that a contestant's performance had achieved such a feat suddenly. Cassadee wasn't just another contestant, she was a legitimate contender for the crown. Social media completely reversed course. Twitter exploded with praise, with fans calling it the best performance of the season. Instagram comments flooded in predicting that Cassadee would win the entire competition. The hashtag about her performance trended for days. Critics who had once questioned her presence on the show were now singing her praises, acknowledging that her genre switch had been brilliant and her talent was undeniable. Blake later said that watching Cassadee perform Over You was one of the most emotional moments of his entire coaching career. The performance had honored his brother's memory while simultaneously launching Cassadee into frontrunner status. From that moment forward, every subsequent performance she delivered continued to chart in the iTunes Top 10, with her rendition of Keith Urban's Stupid Boy also hitting #1. She became the only female contestant to advance to the top for that season, proving that her success wasn't luck or manipulation. It was pure talent meeting perfect preparation. On December 18, 2012, host Carson Daly stood on the Voice stage surrounded by the final 3 contestants, Cassadee Pope, Terry McDermott, and Nicholas David. The tension in the air was palpable as America's votes were tallied. When Carson finally called out Cassadee's name as the winner, she collapsed in shock and joy, tears streaming down her face as confetti rained from the ceiling. She had done it. She had become The Voice's first ever female winner, Blake Shelton's second consecutive victory, and one of the most successful contestants the show had ever produced. The prize money was just the beginning. Almost immediately, Cassadee signed with Republic Nashville, marking her official transition into the country music world. In May 2013, she released Wasting All These Tears, the lead single from her debut album Frame by Frame. The song debuted at number 37 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 7 on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart, selling an incredible 125,000 copies in its first week. The album itself, released in October 2013, peaked at number 1 on Billboard's Top Country Albums chart and broke into the top 10 of the overall Billboard 200. But the transition wasn't entirely smooth. Cassadee later opened up about the grueling reality of post-show success. She embarked on a radio tour that required her to visit approximately 4 stations per day. For 3 straight months, she described feeling exhausted, unable to create genuine relationships with anyone because she was constantly racing to the next appearance. The whirlwind of immediate fame was both exhilarating and depleting. Despite the challenges, Cassadee threw herself into building her country career with remarkable dedication. She spent 2014 touring with country giants Tim McGraw and Dierks Bentley, performing for massive crowds and learning from established artists. She appeared on tribute albums, sang the national anthem at NASCAR races and NFL games, and steadily built her reputation as a serious country artist, not just a reality show winner. The breakthrough that solidified her place in country music history came in 2016 with Think of You, a duet with Chris Young. The song became her first number 1 on the U.S. Country Airplay chart and earned both artists a Grammy nomination for Best Country Duo Group Performance in 2017. With this nomination, Cassadee became the first contestant in The Voice history to receive Grammy recognition, a distinction that validated every risk she had taken and every criticism she had endured. Over the following years, Cassadee released multiple albums, including her second studio album in 2019 titled Stages, which she celebrated with a release party at Blake Shelton's Nashville bar Ole Red, showing that their mentor-student relationship had evolved into a genuine friendship. She released Thrive in 2021, continuing to explore the intersection of her pop-punk roots and country sensibilities. But by 2022, something fundamental had shifted for Cassadee. After a decade in the country music industry, she made a shocking announcement that sent ripples through both the country and pop-punk communities. She was leaving country music behind and returning to her pop-punk roots. In interviews, she explained that part of her decision came from feeling disconnected from the politics and culture within country music. She wanted to create music with complete authenticity, tapping into the creativity that had first made her fall in love with performing. In July 2024, Cassadee released her 4th studio album, Hereditary, marking her full-circle return to pop-punk. The album explores complex themes of grief, addiction, mental health, and personal growth with raw honesty. She describes it as offering a soundtrack to navigate life's complexities, with authenticity and courage, giving people permission to feel everything. The album features collaborations with Under Oath's Aaron Gillespie and includes deeply personal tracks like 3 of Us, which addresses watching someone struggle with addiction. To support Hereditary, Cassadee embarked on the Hereditary Tour, playing sold-out shows across the United States throughout the summer of 2024. She also reunited with her original band Hey Monday for performances at the When We Were Young Festival in Las Vegas in October 2024 and the Emo's Not Dead Cruise in February 2025. Delighting longtime fans who had followed her since the beginning, she joined Marianas Trench on their Force of Nature tour, bringing her music to audiences coast to coast. Today, Cassadee Pope stands as one of the most successful and respected artists to emerge from The Voice. She maintains a strong relationship with Blake Shelton, who remains a supportive figure in her life. She's built an impressive social media following and cultivated a devoted fan community that spans both her country and pop-punk eras. She's proven that artists don't have to be confined to a single genre or identity. That growth and evolution are not betrayals, but natural expressions of creativity. Cassadee's journey from pop-punk frontwoman to the voice champion to country star to independent pop-punk artist again represents something profound about artistic authenticity. She proved that talent combined with determination can overcome skepticism, criticism, and doubt. She showed that taking risks, whether pivoting to country music to win a competition or returning to punk rock, to reclaim your artistic soul, requires courage but yields extraordinary rewards. From struggling solo artist to Grammy-nominated superstar, from facing accusations of being a fraud to becoming an inspiration for aspiring musicians everywhere, Cassadee Pope has lived a remarkable story of resilience, reinvention, and uncompromising artistry. What do you think about Cassadee Pope's incredible journey from the voice winner to country star and back to her pop-punk roots? Let us know in the comments below. Which talent show contestant should we cover next? Drop your suggestions in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss another inspiring story. As for Cassadee Pope, her story is far from over, and with new music, tours, and an unwavering commitment to authentic artistry, we can't wait to see what she accomplishes next.